All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as promised, I'm going to come in and grab a bunch of stuff that's already been created for us and drop it into our website to see what happens. I do want to mention a couple things. There's a lot of good information here under the overview. All right, they talk about different kinds of layouts, the fact that you can use a container, which is not fluid. In other words, there'll be some margin on each side, or you can use a container fluid, which means it'll cover the whole thing. So one says div class equal container, and one says div class equal container fluid. Well, everything that you do in Bootstrap basically has to be inside of a container. All right, just so you're aware of that. Bootstrap is also set up to be responsive, which means in fact, the best way to show you this is, here's the Bootstrap website. All right, and to show you the responsiveness, when I make it smaller and bigger, you can see that as I make it smaller and bigger, come on, give me that, would you please? Good golly. Come on. Why can't I click on that? Move, there we go. You see how it changes when it gets to be a certain size? It is responsive. If we look at the way this looks, notice we've got the stuff here, etc. As it gets smaller, that stuff starts to move. And eventually, everything is in pretty much a one-column format. But that's responsive. And it's built in based on the type of layout you have, and some built-in responsive breakpoints are set up for you. All right, so I mentioned the containers, I mentioned the responsive breakpoints. All right, we're going to look at more at some of this, of course, as we go on. But I'm going to go down to where it's got, let's see, grid. Okay, it's based on, let's see, this is so new that that link didn't even work. How's that? All right, let's just jump up to content here. And there'll be some stuff in here. All right, I don't want to go through any of that stuff right now. I want to just grab components so we can put some code in here and start taking a look at what's in here. All right? All right. So let's come in, and first let's go back where we were under the getting, I think it was the getting started. And we had the Okay, I wanted to grab that. I just wanted to put in a div class equal container at the top. All right, so I'm going to get rid of, I was trying to goof around and do some other stuff earlier. I'm just going to get rid of all that. I had some problems, but they will all be fixed now. So all I have right now in my body is this div class equal container. That's it. That's it. And my links to my JavaScript files. All right, so it says content here. So let's put in some content. All right. All right, let me jump over to here. Now I'm going to grab content. Go over to components and start grabbing some stuff. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab all of this stuff that you see in here. And again, this is not going to be a site in that you'd never want to show this to anybody, but I'm trying to show you in here some of the stuff that you're able to do in Bootstrap. That's my goal here. And this is not going to be a super long lecture, but I just want to show you again some of the stuff that you're able to do. Bootstrap is very consistent, and although the stuff I'm going to show you, you can change, you'll notice that when we have alerts, all right, and warnings and danger and success and info, etc., they'll all be different colors. What do I mean? Well, I'm saying, if you say I don't have a clue as to what you mean, let's look at it. See that? All right, when things are successful in Bootstrap, typically they go into a lighter green color like that, and with a dark green font. If there's something that needs your attention, but it's just more or less, hey, this is an FYI for you, it's in blue, a light blue with a dark blue font. If it's a warning, it's kind of a cream color with a more brownish font. And if it's something bad, it's a sort of a pinkish color. So you see this. You can change those colors if you don't like them. All right? But they're pretty much where they're kind of standardized. So it's not that you can't change them, you can, but people know what they are by taking a look at them, is what I'm saying. All right? So again, I'm just showing you a few different things that you can do in here. This isn't meant to amaze, surprise, stupefy you, or anything else. I'm just trying to show you some of the stuff that's available in here to you. All right, creating a form. Let's see. This is a little more complex right here, so let's create this form. Then we'll come back and we'll talk about a couple things here. All right? This is all still inside of our container. So I want to come back when I get done, and I want to talk about a few things that are in here. And what I'm doing right now, of course, you do not have to line things up like this. But I have found over time that as I'm debugging, I've got my own way of laying things out on the page. And it works really well for me. The way that I do things may not at all work or be what you want to do. All right? But I can tell by taking a look at what I have in here, what kind of goes with what, etc. All right? It makes it much easier for me as I'm debugging. Sooner or later, either here or later or wherever, I'm going to make a mistake. And it's much easier for me to find my mistakes laying it out the way that I lay it out. This all looks to me like it should be moved over. Boom, boom. Somehow I lost it right there. I promise, as soon as I get this up, we're going to go back and start talking about all of this. All right, so now I should have just what you saw before, those divs that were the different colors, plus I should have a form in here. And I think you'd all agree that even though I did some work as far as moving my stuff over, I have not written any code yet. All right, now let's see how responsive this is. Notice how it looks. When we first started, and I'm not sure why I can't grab this. Oh my goodness. Tell you what I'm going to do. Just because I'm not wasting my time, I'm not going to waste your time with this. I'll bring it up in a, I'll try bringing it up in a different. Nope. How about if I bring it up in, Firefox, or even, oh my God, bring it up in IE. How about Edge? So here's my stuff. Notice what size it is, and notice as I make it smaller, it starts changing how it looks on the screen. That's responsive design in action. Hopefully you can see how nice, even on a cell phone, everything would look. How nice it would look if you were on a tablet, for example. And again, I've written no code. I've used existing code. So let's talk about what that code is and what it does. All right? So it's funny. before HTML5, every time you wanted to lay out a web page, you used divs all over the place. Div is short for division. You should know that by now, all right? And then HTML5 came, and we got all these new tags. Article tags, aside tags, header tags, nav tags, footer tags. And we were told, at least somewhat, they were to take the place of divs, and you should really minimize your divs. Well, Bootstrap is not that at all. In fact, in Bootstrap, virtually everything you do will be inside of divs. So you can call this the return of the div if you want. Everything is in my container. So there's the beginning of my container. There's the end of my container. Now, what a lot of people like to do, and you don't have to do this, but to make it easier for them, they like to put comments at, when they, like end class equal container div, something like that. Again, you don't have to do that. It doesn't make your program run any better, but just so you can see where something starts and where it ends. All right? Now, you'll notice in here, I've got my div and I've got class equal alert. That is a class. That says that I'm going to be creating alerts. Well, did you notice these all look the same? Those are all alerts. They're all different colors, but they're all alerts. In fact, I would guess that if I come in here, now I'm not sure if this is going to work or how it's even going to look, if I remove this alert-success, all right, and I refresh the page, you see how it looks? You can't tell because it's not the color, it's just white, but it is the same size as the rest of them. All right? Well, white on white sure doesn't look very good, as you just saw. So what we're doing in here is we're adding to the alert class another class, alert success. And the role, for lack of better words, Bootstrap is not only meant to be responsive, but it's meant to be HTML5 compliant. And one of the things about HTML5 compliance is you want to be as semantic as possible. And you want to let people who are working with a website, especially people who have any kind of physical limitations, know exactly what's what. So, let's ask the system. What is role equal alert? What is it? It's used to communicate an important and usually time-sensitive message to the user. When it's added to an element, the browser will send out an alert event to assistive technology products. Again, a browser to the blind, or possibly to the deaf. It could be other things. But it all has to do with accessibility. All right? So what we've seen is we've got two classes here. An alert class and an alert success class, and a role. After that, that's just regular HTML. Then we've got another alert class with an alert info, so it'll be a different color. Another alert class with another alert warning, so that'll be a different color. And another alert with an alert danger, which will be yet another color. Again, as previously mentioned, these are going to be your default colors. Come on, did I save? No, I did not. This greenish, this bluish, this tan, and this kind of pinkish. All right, although you can change them. Okay? All right, so that's the first thing. So I've kind of talked about these. Let's talk a little bit about the form. Form is still inside of form tags, so that's regular HTML5-ish. We're saying that it's a horizontal form as opposed to a vertical form. All right, our divs, notice they're all class form group. So we're letting the system know that they're going inside of a Bootstrap form. Now, if I remove all those, in fact, let's just remove this one and see what happens. That's the best way to learn this stuff. All right, so here it is right there. If we refresh, you see nothing much happened. It got a little smaller. Yeah, because what it was doing was it was using some of the built-in stuff in the bootstrap.min.css class. If I go in, let's go into the bootstrap.min.css, even though we've got the minified version. Let's go in there. Oops, I don't want to do that. Let's go in there and see if we can find form group. All right. I don't want to waste all of our, or too much of our time at least, doing this. But the bootstrap.min.css. So let's open that. Again, it's very small, but let's do a Control H and let's search for form group. Find next. And if you look here, you'll notice there is someplace, there's form group. So if we start moving this over a bit, all right, we'll notice that for form group, there are certain things that are set up for us. A bottom margin, oops, well, all right, again, there is a bottom margin. It's all the stuff that's right here. Just about a margin of 1 rem. All right? But the different stuff that we put in here will all have different tags associated with it inside of the CSS. So we've got form groups. All right? This shouldn't look very different to you. Except if you look, what we're saying is when you're running this for a small device, have it take up 2 columns. Bootstrap is based on a grid system which says take your screen, whatever the size is, it's 12 columns wide. And what we're saying is if we're on a small device, this should take up 2 columns. All right? And everything has to equal 12, so we've got 2 and we've got 10. That equals 12. Then if you look in here, now we're saying this is a form control. Well, if I'd have kept up that bootstraps.min.css file, right after our form group was a form control. All right? The rest of this stuff is just pure CSS and pure writing an HTML5 form. Let's go on and do a little bit more, and then we'll, where are we for time here? All right, I'm at 17 minutes. I'll put one more thing in here. All right? And I'll go back over to here, and let's see. I can put in some check boxes. I can put in some radio buttons. All right. To me, that's not that big of a thing. All right. I'm looking for something I think looks like it'd be worth showing you in here. All right. I'm going to grab this, believe it or not, right at the bottom. All right. And I'm going to go back over to here. Did we have a button in our form? We've got a submit button, but it says default. I'm going to change it from default to primary. Why? It's easier to change it and show you than it is to tell you. Notice the color of our button. Notice the color of our button. All right? Buttons have their own coloring for them. Okay? You wouldn't have to make this. This works exactly the same way that it did before. All right? But again, now it's blue. Okay? All right. I want to jump back in. I'd like to show you maybe one more thing here. So we looked very quickly at a form. And let's look at buttons. Let's put in a bunch of buttons. There we go. So we'll put in all these buttons that you see right here so you can see the difference. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different buttons here. I'm going to take those and I'm going to put those right before my final div here. So I'm going to paste those in. Again, because I'm a little anal about this stuff, I'm going to grab this. All of this stuff before our div. I'm going to tab it a couple times. It doesn't look too bad. Save. Again, I've written no code. I've just copied over code. But now you see my buttons. All right? And as you'll notice, the name on the button is the type of the button. So that's the way a default button looks. That's how a primary button looks, and you saw that here also. That's how a success button looks. An information button, a warning button, and a danger button. All right? And they pretty much dovetail with the colors that you see up here. They're not perfect, but you get the idea. All right, so let's look at the code that we used for that. Type equal button, class equal BTN. This is a class. Every button should first have class equal BTN. That's the button class, so all buttons have that. Then this is the stuff particular to a button default, to a button primary, to a button success, to a button info, to a button warning, and to a button danger. All right? Okay, so that's what we've got so far. Again, it may not look like much, but we haven't written anything yet ourselves, and we have a fully responsive, web page, okay? Which I think at least is pretty nice. If I refresh, there's my buttons back, and again, let's see when we get down to a certain size, okay, how they stack. You can change that. There's very little CSS that's in here right now, none that we've put in. All right. So last thing, when we come back then, I'm going to go and add a few more things to this. After I get done with that, that'll end this little intro, and I'm going to go into the tutorial. After the tutorial, I'm going to go in and run some of those examples. After the examples, I'm going to go in and start writing a website. All right, just so you know what's coming up.